I felt like I connected to her, but I didn't exactly know why at the beginning.
You ain't a girl. You a devil. I am going to eat your soul.
I'm so hungry. I think I'm gonna die.
What's wrong? Daddy, you want some?
It's kind of a guttural thing at first, and so
Cannibalism fucks. It's bad and it's terrible, but it's also so damn good as a fictional trope. It endures. Despite cannibalism being one of the most taboo subjects on the planet, we love to digest it again and again and again. It's mentioned in the Bible and the Bible's hot cousin, the Penny Dreadful. It serves as the backbone of popular government conspiracies and the punchline for viral celebrity allegations. Some of The Walking Dead's best work occurs alongside a cannibal subplot, and frankly, any plot that has Rick Grimes crashing out. Keep me away from that man. I'm a threat to him. Even the classics loved sinking their teeth into taboo. Shakespeare, for instance, used cannibalism as a plot point in his play Titus Andronicus. The titular character Titus kills his enemy Timora's sons, bakes them into a pie, and tricks Timora into eating it. Fictional cannibalism is supposed to be grotesque, but it's not violence for violence's sake. It means something. Like the larger horror genre, fake cannibalism can be a vehicle to critique or commentate on society. It's how we digest our cultural fears and anxieties. You might have noticed an influx of fictional cannibal women recently. 2008's Jennifer's Body went from being a cult classic to required reading for hot girls. Yellow Jackets became a cultural phenomenon in 2021, followed in the next year by Fresh and Bones and All. Not to mention the endless books released in the past decade, especially in the last 3 years, with a sharp focus on hunger. This form of storytelling has become so saturated, in fact, that there have even been an influx of video essays about it. If something happens in pop culture and 60 different YouTubers don't make an hour-long video about it, did it even happen? Make that 61. Different YouTubers. This video is a combination of everything I just told you. Cannibalism, revenge, social diagnosis, and hungry women. I define hungry women as people who have big, oftentimes deviant appetites. In media, they serve as a vehicle to explore social fears and anxieties, especially related to gender. But there's some interesting commentary on race and class baked in there too. For the sake of this video, I'll be focusing on horror tropes such as the cannibal, but also zombies and vampires, who are, in their own way, cannibals themselves. This was supposed to be a Halloween video, if you couldn't tell, but we're just in time for US American Thanksgiving. May all colonizers swim butt naked in the lake of fire for all eternity. The main question of our last chapter was, what if we gave in to social pressure? What if we forfeited our autonomy, allowed outside forces to colonize our personhood, and become what everyone expected us to? Think of this chapter as the antithesis to that one. This chapter is about becoming everyone's worst fucking nightmare. Let's dig in. This video is sponsored by Casetify. Another holiday season and I'm stuck in this boring, ugly tower. I need excitement. Hello, princess. It's me, Prince Charming. Oh my god, not him again. I come bearing gifts. How thoughtful. I'm sure I'll cherish them like all the rest. No, it's better than the rest. I present to you Casetify. Tell me more. Right now, Casetify is having their biggest sale of the year, just in time for the holidays. Their aesthetic tech accessories make the perfect gift. These are cute, and the design is timeless. It has a cozy holiday feel, but I could definitely use this year-round. You can even get matching accessories. At least I'll have something nice to look at. I spend all my time in this tower locked away on my phone, scrolling or calling people. And this durable charm lets me go hands-free. Who do you call? No matter. Well, anyways, Casetify has something for everyone's taste. It's also a great gift for your loved ones. Maybe a boyfriend or... How do I get this, Casetify? It's really easy to find what you want on their website. Let's say that special someone in your life really loves medieval culture. You can type that into the search bar and look, Excalibur. Or you can even get a customized phone case with someone's initials. Can I see that, please? Perfect. Don't miss out on Casetify's biggest sale of the year, ending very soon. Check out my personal favorites at casetify.com/Shanspear. Hey, do you think your sister will like this? It's Casetify. I'm sure she will. Part 1. I am obscene to you. Corruption begins with the mouth, the tongue, the wanting. The first poem in the world is I Want to Eat. Erica Jong, Where It Begins. Contrary to popular belief, I read. I read Hungerstone by Dunn earlier this year, and it's what inspired me to make this video. It's also one of the reasons why I'm on a government list. One of many, many reasons. You see, this book made me obsessed with the concept of hunger, especially hunger as an allegory. It's a retelling of Sheridan Le Fanu's Carmilla, aka the OG queer vampire story. And it follows Lenore, a repressed married woman who hungers for freedom. One night, while her and her fuck-ass husband are traveling via carriage, because it's the goddamn 1800s, they stumble upon a horrific crash. Under the wreckage is the baddest bitch this side of England, aka Carmilla. This book has it all. Interesting writing, extramarital affairs, blood, mayhem, and hot lesbian sex. But there's two scenes in particular that I want to tell you about. In one, Lenore is losing her marbles. She has been locked in her bedroom by her husband and quite possibly his mistress. Rough with anger, Lenore crawls around on her bedroom floor, stomach first like a snake, gnawing on anything she can get her mouth around. As she puts it, she is sick with hunger. About 70 pages later, we get this line, again about her fuck-ass husband. I am hungry, and here is a man who has starved me for years. I can smell the sweat and fear on him, and the tinny, penny-bright, salt-rich smell of his blood. I want it. And girl, she gets it. Using only her mouth, she tears into him like a dog would, feral and unforgiving. Quote, ripping and yanking and wrenching until the gurgling of his breath fades and his body's twitching stills beneath me. My dream date. How cute. Like Lenore, I was insatiable upon finishing this book. I needed more violence, more bloodshed. Over the course of a few weeks, I terrorized my local libraries. Yes, plural. If a book existed in my county and featured some kind of bloodthirsty heroine, be it vampire, cannibal, or zombie, it was coming home with me. I was in those people's building straight playing on their computers, searching up increasingly suspicious keywords. Books about cannibalism. Books about revenge and cannibalism. Books about femmes who are threats to society and who kill anyone who wrongs them, especially men, and especially in increasingly descriptive, bloody ways. Bonus points if they look exactly like me, live in my area, have gone through the things I have gone through, and resort to cannibalism when confronted. As specific as my searches were, I was able to find a surprising amount of books in line with my criteria. And as we have already established, film is just as preoccupied with this genre as I am. There's clearly a stable demand for violent, hungry women. But why?
I think this is part of the reason why you asked me to chat to you is that I did my thesis on female cannibalism in horror for undergrad for film. And in researching, I read a lot about just cannibalism in literature and film and media, the theory around it. Eating is kind of one of the ultimate acts of agency. It's like recognizing a desire within yourself and then acting upon it. Mm-hmm. And, hunger is like the most primal, the most basic of our desires, but it's also something as women we're socialized to ignore a lot of the time. And we're, socialized to ignore many of our desires, but hunger is kind of the one that is going to come up the most often. And it's just literally central to our being, our health. And I think, I don't know about you, but I think I'd be very hard pressed to find a woman in my life who hasn't or doesn't have a difficult relationship with food. I think it's very much a rarity for someone to just be like, oh yeah, I never like ever struggled with food. I'd be like, that is crazy. It's just a part of kind of like the female socialization.
The idea of like the carnivorous woman, it centers the self in a way that women are not supposed to be able to. If you think about the women who used to be accused of like witch allegations, it was women who lived on the fringes, who were independent, because that is, you know, to be a selfish woman, to not get married, to not have children is seen as subversive and selfish. We even see that now of like, oh, like you just want to do whatever you want and you just want to like live your life without children. And that's like the reason why we're on this earth. And it's, I think inherently when you choose to like take yourself out and feed yourself spiritually, mentally, whatever, you invite people saying, but like your natural state is to do something else. And I think in many ways, like the pleasure of food, the pleasure of taking care of oneself, when you are a woman or assigned female at birth or, you know, socialized female, it's just not what you're encouraged to do. You are encouraged to cook though. You are encouraged to feed other people. And that's the thing as well. It's like you get an easy bake oven, but you give it to other people. And I think that's kind of the thing. Is like these skills are supposed to be for others, not for you.
The hungry woman was always going to be famous. Not only is eating crucial to human survival, and not only has preventable hunger become a mainstay in our cultural consciousness, but we are also obsessed with women who eat. The very first sin was a woman who ate. The second sin was a woman who made a dance pop song about it on TikTok. Eating is obviously a primal thing. We all have to do it in order to survive. But eating is also about power. Capitalism dictates who gets to eat, and so does the patriarchy. Tamar Heller and Patricia Moran, editors of Scenes of the Apple, argue that the apple scene in Genesis, the Bible, represents a woman's oral pleasure and body being regulated by patriarchal law. By eating from the tree of knowledge, Eve became aware of her body and its desires. Quickly thereafter, she was punished. Normative femininity dictates that women must regulate their appetite, or else. You must eat just enough to survive, but not enough to exist. Don't take up space, don't gain weight, don't let yourself go. Doing this makes you noble, beautiful, acceptable to a degree, while doing this makes you a walking cultural taboo. In Food, Sex, Love, and Bodies, Janani Subramanian and Jory Lagerway state, at least since the Victorian era, the depiction of women eating, particularly in sensuous surrender to rich, exciting food, is taboo. Women are trained to eat privately when they must eat at all. Cultural limits placed on women's appetites are not merely about consumption, but about social control. The hungry woman intentionally subverts these demands. Normative femininity insists that true women can't be violent, gluttonous, or messy. But this is the baseline existence for hungry women. She identifies the cultural expectation of feminine regulation and then rejects it. Instead, she expresses an appetite not for success through conventional femininity, but through a recognition and validation of her own needs, desires, and drives. Hunger obviously isn't exclusive to the horror genre, but the horror genre is where the hungry woman excels. Who else understands her plight better than a cannibal, a zombie, or a vampire? If eating is about power, then such taboo indulgence is the ultimate domination, but it's also social suicide. Hungry women are outcasts. They feed their appetites regardless of social rules. They seek not acceptance or comic relief for their indulgence, but fear.
In the Vivitch, the Robert Edgar movie, when like she is seduced by, you know, Black Phillip Satan, and she's like, would thou like the taste of butter? You know, like, do you want some sweetness in your life? Do you want to be able to enjoy things? Do you want to be able
like
to
live deliciously?
Deliciously, yes. It's like that. And I'm just like, yes, please. Where are you, Black Phillip? Take me away, Lord. And I think that that movie is one of my favorites and why I revisit it, because I feel like that idea of living deliciously, of like getting to enjoy things and like be free of all of these social trappings. And I think because like I mentioned before, like cannibalism is like that last thing in society that like, most animals don't even eat their own kin. Like it's so taboo that like to lean into that is to completely separate yourself from the hierarchy of civilization.
Not only are we obsessed with women who eat, we're obsessed with women who fuck. In past horror media, this manifested a little differently. The slasher is infamous for its depiction of violence toward women, especially women who are sexual. Everyone knows that if you have hot premarital sex, you deserve to be stabbed 47 times. The final girl in slasher movies is usually the bookish, virginal archetype who is forced to watch as her slutty, uneducated friends get mowed down by insecure, masked men.
So who cares? I always forget my chemistry book and my math book and my English book and my French book.
Feminine appetite of all kinds, including sex, is seen as disruptive and deviant, and it must be dealt with. Susan Bordeaux, who is cited in April Davidowski's essay, argues that feminine appetite is regulated one of two ways: diet or death. Diets are ironically reserved for more lighthearted media. Fat women and sexual women are used as comic relief instead of being seen as multifaceted characters. They're forced to abstain from food or sex in order to be born again as valuable. Death is reserved for our horror hungries. These narratives attempt to alienate you from the hungry, monstrous woman by emphasizing how much of a threat they pose to, the social order, gender, social hierarchy, and even sex itself. Remember, sex bad if a woman has it. It's a straight white man's hobby like golf and family annihilation. Who are all these straight men having sex with if not?
Sorry.
Where am I? Who are you? The man-eater is a perfect example of this phenomenon. Man-eaters, also known as femme fatales, have a substantial appetite, sometimes for food, but mainly for sex, power, and bloodshed. They're seductive destroyers of worlds, and they are hell-bent on indulging their own desires. Man-eaters easily fall under the hungry woman category. The name even evokes cannibalism, though it's not these lips that do the indulging, it's the other ones. But like the man-eater, the hungry woman's appetite doesn't stop at food, flesh, blood, or brains. There's an underlying desire for sex, too.
In film scholarship, there's always been such like a wealth of writing on female sexuality and horror or monstrosity. Like when Barbara Creed wrote The Monstrous Feminine in 1993, she said that we should always read female monstrosity in terms of their sexuality. So part of the allure and the danger of the cannibal, and the notion of the cannibal, is how quickly a kiss can turn to a bite as well. And the very fact that people do bite and lick each other in sexual context as well. And it's kind of like, if you bit a little harder, or how hard would you have to bite to pierce flesh or whatever? There's a play with that tension anyways in romance and sex. Cannibalistic hunger kind of, I think, really often acts as a metaphor for sexual or romantic desire. Like Ginger Snaps, which we spoke about how she's coming into her own sexuality. Jennifer's Body, she kind of lures people in with the promise or expectation of sex and then eats them, and also wants to consume needy as well. And there's homoerotic elements there.
Everyone makes fun of Bella Swan for being a monster fucker extraordinaire. Even Jacob does it.
You're such a hypocrite. What, I'm not the right kind of monster for you?
But she was really onto something. Modern vampires are the epitome of sex. They embody desire more than any other monster. Fuck. That's another one you gotta watch me around before I get physical. Book after book, TV show after TV show, film after film, most modern vampire media focuses on their sex appeal or their dangerously seductive qualities than even their violence. Samuel Coleridge's Christabel, for instance, is similar to Le Fanu's Carmilla, in that a femme vampire wreaks sexual and social havoc on everyone she comes across. Man and woman. And me. And then there's Dracula, which was published 82 years after Christabel and 25 years after Carmilla. Like its predecessors, Dracula also employs the seductive, albeit socially threatening, vampiric woman. That was a lot of words in one, a lot of big words in that one sentence. Christopher Kraft argues that Dracula is an expression and distortion of sexuality. Not only does the narrative mix fear and desire, similar to dark romance, but it, quote, represents desire under the defensive mask of monstrosity.
Do you need me to explain that quote? Actually, I feel like it was really...
I
was going to explain
know,
it to you, but I'm like, is that patronizing?
No, but I think I'd like you to explain it in the context of like how you want to apply it, kind of, maybe, or just like I just thought, like, yeah, all right.
Fuck it, I can. Dracula is kind of a money laundering front. The overt narrative about vampires is a mask for its covert narrative about sex, gender, and gay.
And then there's also the conversation of, you know, homoeroticism in Dracula. I don't know if you've ever got that from reading it.
No, there actually is, where there's like I remember literally like underlining it in the book and being like gay or something, where
gay,
literally like gay.
Normative femininity insists that women receive while men give. Which sounds fun and hot, but no, not like that. It's a power thing. Women are seen as submissive, whereas men are allowed to dominate. However, the women in Dracula, particularly Dracula's daughters, subvert that expectation. They are aggressive and vocal about their desires and, in fact, attempt to act on them time and time again. The vampire is also the center of social deviancy, especially vampires who are women. Christopher Kraft argues that in Dracula, the daughters' mouths are described as soft and bloody, an inviting orifice that is vaginally suggestive. But then at the same time, there's the fangs, these hard, penetrative bones that pierce and swap fluids, the penalty of it all. Arthur H. Nethercott argues that women vampires were also rare during the Carmilla, Christabel, Dracula era, and so their very existence and popularity is kind of subversive. Like most society-defying women, the hungry woman is usually killed by the end of the story. Corrected might be a better word for it, actually.
But I corrected them, sir.
Dracula, for instance, was written during the Victorian era, so women at that time were expected to be the angel in the house, pure, godly, and feminine women. And that's not what's happening in Dracula. Vampires are already an affront to God on account of their soul, or lack thereof. Edward Cullen spends almost 700 pages bitching about it in Midnight Sun. You know, it's less tabs than it looks like. But there's also the sex appeal, the sensuality, and the gender whimsy of it all. Kraft states, violence against the sexual woman in Dracula is intense, sensually imagined, and ferocious in its detail. The stake to the heart stands as a corrective penetration, undoing the penetrative power of the vampiric woman's fangs. Therefore, Kraft argues, one of the major themes of Dracula is that appetite in a woman is a diabolic inversion of natural order, end quote. This happens all across the horror genre, from the slasher to the succubus to the otherwise femme fatale. Just like the vampire woman who gets a stake to the heart, the penetration of so-called deviant women by a blade, pole, or bullet is a corrective one. By killing the evil, hungry woman in their respective narratives, protagonists are able to re-establish normative gender, aka the natural order of the universe. Ew. Not even over my undead body. Part 2. But to myself, I simply am. I ought to be thy Adam, but I am rather the fallen angel. I was benevolent and good until misery made me a fiend. Mary Shelley, Frankenstein. Monster tropes don't just signify the death of society. They signify the death of self and soul, of who we were before we were made into a weapon. The origin story is always the best part of these narratives. Audiences are eager to see what led to the moral collapse, the violence. The hungry woman is no different. This trope is a sociological wet dream. It's a direct line of sight into human society. our fears, our anxieties, our hierarchies, and more. Hungry women don't just fall out of coconut trees. They are a result. They're a reminder of everything that you have done to them.
You know, like it's almost like you're binge eating. You're binge eating all of these things to fill you up, but it doesn't actually show in your body in these things. Like, I think actually most of the time they keep wasting away. And it kind of speaks to like the insatiability of trying to heal in a society where you don't have the language or the space to do so. So you're just filling your mouth with food and you're just trying to like find that sense of safety, but you're not actually nourishing the trauma that has made you eat. You're just doing it as a resource. Not as a resource, as a response to trauma, because that's at least familiar. And then when it comes to like cannibalism story, or even the story with vagina dentata, it's always about a response to like sexual trauma or sexual violence and trying to reclaim power and consumption to try and fill that pain void that you can't do otherwise.
I think this is the case for so many monsters in horror and female monsters in horror, that so much of the monstrosity is a result of repression. And, you know, we see in films like Carrie, the, you know, repression from a really religious mother causes her to become this monster. And, you know, we can read so many horror monsters as being the result of societal fears, whether it's clamping down on queerness, whether it's nuclear war, taboos like cannibalism, or female agency. There's this need for a rebellion against like all the confines and expectations of womanhood, or it can be the result of a trauma that is perpetuated against them, like in Jennifer's Body. And I think a lot as well, the kind of tale of becoming a cannibal or the tale of becoming a monster is mapped onto tales of like menstruation and of puberty.
To me, zombies are the scariest fictional monster. Not because of their appearance or the fact that they want to tear the skin off my body like Pyramid Head did to that one girl in Silent Hill, but zombies are scary because out of all the monster tropes I cover in this video, they're the ones with the least amount of agency. Most movie monsters are defined by a loss of control. Vampires tend to be forcibly created by some malicious or hot divinity. God, I need him. They also have a compulsion to feed, much like the zombie. Something innate within them drives them to violence and overindulgence. Frankenstein's monster was also made against his will, like all of us have been, and was alienated by his own maker. Hello, mother wound allegory. Zombies too lack control. They're also the easiest monster to become. I mean, all you have to do is get sick. I get sick on like a... My immune system is shot. Some zombie media even posits that we're all infected with the zombie gene, like we're fucking Betty Cooper or something.
A specific set of genes.
When the apocalypse comes, you can outrun predators, you can outsmart villains, you can even be downright evil. No matter what, when you die, you are still forced to come back. You have zero control. Not over your body, not over your thoughts, not over your existence. Oh, the gender politics of it all. Speaking generally, women know a thing or two about not owning their bodies. I mean, there's wide-sweeping abortion bans, criminalization of healthcare, and talks of contraceptives following suit. Upon marriage, women have historically been absorbed by their husband's identity. They exist as nothing more than his property. Women of color, especially Black women and women living under imperialism, know this intimately. For centuries, they have been forcibly sterilized, enslaved, assaulted, and lynched with impunity. The zombie actually originated in Haiti and was created as a response to colonial violence. Folklore suggests that people use voodoo to reanimate the dead and have them do their bidding, a type of enslavement. In that case, the zombie is inherently a commentary on gender violence, colonization, capitalism, and violent white supremacy. It's a way to explore the evils of the world, but It can also be used to reclaim one's power from these evils. The Walking Dead's Sasha Williams was starving long before she decided to become a zombie, attempting to save her friends and get revenge on the man who terrorized the hell out of her. She poisons herself and then reanimates. Showrunner Scott M. Gimple stated, "She wanted a knife to use against Negan. She didn't get one, so she became the knife." The zombie is the perfect other. It's ostracized from society by its gender, race, or class. Unlike other monsters who form clans or factions to survive, zombies shuffle aimlessly about with no recognition of the self or others. Colm McCarthy's The Girl with All the Gifts takes this isolation a step further. The main character, a sentient zombie black girl named Melanie, is routinely called "it" by her military overseers, and is implied to not be human, despite clearly looking like one. The racial allegory was probably unintentional, seeing as how the book it's based on was led by a white girl, but I think all the same, it's very interesting. The movie emphasizes the loneliness of the zombie and how that loneliness drives it to extreme hunger. And I would even argue that it has kind of like a children are oppressed kind of sentiment going on there, which true. The hungry woman subgenre is a manifesto. From the zombie to the vampire to the cannibal, she exists as a declaration of one's pain under oppression and a bloodied promise of one's emancipation. Part 3. A subtle violence. As white women ignore their built-in privilege of whiteness and define women in terms of their own experience alone, then women of color become other, the outsider whose experience and tradition is too alien to comprehend. Audre Lorde, Sister Outsider. Alright, that's enough glazing. Time to be annoying. The hungry woman undoubtedly has potential. She exists at a point in the horror canon where diverse stories are getting their heyday. Women aren't just terrorized by others on screen anymore. They instead do the terrorizing. They are violent, angry, and simultaneously beloved by audiences. But there's still something missing. A majority of this media focuses on white, thin, upper to middle class, cis, and able-bodied women. For all the ways it attempts to be radical in its gender subversion, it remains normative in every other aspect. Mind you, this isn't my first rodeo. I have made countless videos about the lack of diversity in women's media, and I have been dragged through the coals for doing so. I also have existed as a black person for all of my life, and so I've seen how blackness and especially black femininity is excluded from just about everything. I knew coming into this video that finding marginalized leads in such a specific niche would be hard, but damn, whatever happened to DEI? Whatever happened to woke? Is there a black person here? That isn't to say that diversity doesn't exist in this niche. The vampire is probably the most diverse figure out of all the ones I cover in this video. Girl, that's saying something.
I'm black.
Very.
2002's Queen of the Damned stars Aaliyah as the vampire Akasha. Angela Bassett stars alongside Eddie Murphy and his wig in 1995's Vampire in Brooklyn. Of course, there's 2022's Bones and All, starring Taylor Russell, and 2025's Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler. Diverse books also fare rather decently, but by no means is as saturated as its normative counterparts. Catherine Dong's What Hunger explores cannibalistic violence through the eyes of a 14-year-old Vietnamese girl. Virginia Feito's Victorian Psycho stars a fat woman hungry for gender equality and familial respect. And yes, I know a certain hunger exists. It centers an older woman with a huge appetite, sexually and food-wise. I couldn't finish it. It was actually too good at what it set out to do in terms of its pretentious narrator, and I don't know what was wrong that day. I could not get through it. But really, really good writing. The hungry woman has an otherwise untapped market. If her hunger symbolizes total isolation and social othering, it would make sense for more women of color, fat women, trans women, disabled women, and lower class women to be added to the narrative. White, thin, cis, and abled women are unmistakably othered under the patriarchy, and so of course they deserve their stories being told, but they're not the only ones. right? When we censor their voices and make no room for others, we're actually reproducing the discrimination that we claim to be subverting. Something I have noticed is that white women feel liberated by the very narratives used to oppress other marginalized women.
The figure of the cannibal as this kind of figure with no humanity or lack of humanity or less humanity has also been weaponized, particularly by like white European settlers against people in Africa, in the Americas, in Australia, Pacific Islands. And so again, like historically been seen as this kind of action that separates the civilized from the non-civilized. And a lot of the stories of cannibalism were either exaggerated or like fabricated entirely as well. And then we see it come up in like other kind of stereotypes, like anti-Semitic stereotypes where like the Jewsy babies, or like Pizzagate as well, of like this conspiracy of like Satan, cannibal people.
And yet cannibalism is an increasingly popular vehicle to display white feminine liberation. This is also true for more general hunger and indulgence.
And I think in that way, like the succubus is still a vehicle in which white women are still developing their ideas about sexuality. And because like there is still a whiteness about being pure and being fair and being, there's also a reason why most of those characters are like brunette, you know, like, because that's white people colorism. They'll make a brunette dude all kinds of despicable things. And I think there is sort of like, for white women, their body realities, even though Black women, we still deal with fat phobia, Latino women, etc. We are used to seeing attractive women of multiple different kind of body types in our world. Like Queen Latifah is fine. Monique is getting it. Like so we don't have that same sort of reality where it's like Rebel Wilson. And not only is she like fat, but she is meant to play the role of jester. You know, like a lot of that is that self-depreciating, like, they eat so much food, or like Melissa McCarthy, those kind of roles where it's like, that is part of the joke. Where I think that because we've always had like bigger Black stars and we have like the mammy stuff, like that's kind of like the thing that we're fighting with. But we are used to seeing those women still be wives, still be mothers, still be like soft and feminine in a different kind of way. And so I think when it comes to the visual language, we're still gonna always have like the very thin woman, you know, binge eating, because that is visceral to white audiences, if that makes sense.
In Mukbangs and the New Crusade Against Fatness, we discussed how fatness and gluttony are historical stereotypes for women of color and women of lower class. Sabrina Strings argues that misogynoir has impacted discussions of health throughout human history. Black women have been historically depicted as insatiable gluttons, both sexually and food-related. Because of their supposed instability, Black women have been seen as threats to public health, from syphilis outbreaks to TB, and even obesity. The hungry woman, who is predominantly wealthy and white, uses these stereotypes as a way to undermine her relationship to the patriarchy, while also making no effort to contend with the racial or class elements involved. Jane Caputi and Laurie Sagal argue that much of the standard imagery associated with the white femme fatale is actually rooted in colonialist and racist projections about women of color. Similarly, April Davidowskis states, "White women's appetite is celebrated for its feminist pleasure, but that resistance is also at the very least an enacting of white privilege. This type of empowerment can exist, can become appealing, because it is represented through the body of an attractive white woman." Think of it like culture appropriation. What's deemed undesirable in Black women, like our hair or our features, is considered high fashion on white women. Just because the trope avoids racial discourse doesn't mean it's ignorant of its existence. The hungry woman seeks to protect whiteness and the privileges afforded to whiteness, even while it attempts to challenge the patriarchy. Stay with me for a second. I'm going to throw so much information at you. It'll make sense soon. So Deborah Bilk's essay, The Courage of Her Appetites, explores how race and privilege converge in the hungry woman narrative, kind of with a focus of Ellen Glasgow's 1926 novel, Romantic Comedians. There's a character in this book by the name of Edmonia Brettlebane, and the author seems conflicted on how to represent her. Not only has Edmonia been married multiple times, I mean, she's a bad bitch, apparently, but she's also a fat woman. Sometimes the narrative portrays Edmonia as a breath of fresh air to the otherwise conservative, patriarchal society, but more often than not, she's criticized for her various appetites. Bilk argues, the author's ambivalence toward her own creation may stem from her realization that since her culture associates the excessive female body with the lower classes, especially black people, loosening the straitjacket of restrained appetites would not so much liberate upper-class white women as lower their class status and privileges that come with it. And so Glasgow, the author, chooses to regulate Edmonia's appetite so that it deviates from the norm, but not so much that she loses access to whiteness. This is a common practice in the hungry woman subgenre. These narratives attempt to challenge the patriarchy, specifically in relation to white women and middle-class women, middle to upper class, I should say, while also protecting those women's whiteness. Characters are allowed to indulge, but only in moderation. They're never fat or non-white, and if they are, they must check some other box that makes them socially acceptable. These characters indulge in moderation, pretending to thwart social limits on women's consumption while still adhering to social body norms. Hunger and desire are expressed, only to be tempered by an individual's choice to remain slender or seek fulfillment in heterosexual coupling. Hunger for food and sex must be achieved in balance, and the excess is tested out and rejected in favor of moderation that is in line with dominant norms of white middle-class femininity. White feminism, in part, is about maintaining one's social status and the privileges that come with it. It's about reinforcing whiteness as supreme and gaining gender equality for only those who fit the mold. I'm looking at you, Susan B. Anthony. I see you, girl. In that way, women who don't fit normative standards, who are not white, who are not thin or cis or able-bodied or neurotypical, are considered outsiders to the outsiders. Word to Audre Lorde. It's not the niche that's the problem, it's the systems that we live under and are influenced by. The problem exists in every media genre as well as in real life. So we've got to do something about this. The hungry woman has the potential to be truly radical, but she has to let go of her need to maintain supremacy first. That's how we get better, more diverse narratives. One thing I've noticed is that marginalized women tend to have a different relationship with the hungry woman trope than white women do. And I could only speak for myself as a black femme, F-E-M, but I enjoy this niche precisely because of its focus on social othering. It's not even necessarily the violence that moves me, though I love violence. Everyone get more violent now. Black women have never been seen as docile or innocent the way white women have, so my interest in this subgenre has less to do with rejecting those ideals and more to do with reclaiming an identity that has been forced upon me. Black women and other marginalized identities have been characterized as gluttonous, sexual monsters for centuries. Our perceived appetite has been scapegoated as the cause for public health catastrophes and the violence that is enacted against us. Some people believe that to rebel against these stereotypes, Black women need to perform delicacy and softness, which, I see the appeal of. But in addition to that, I also enjoy the idea of reclaiming what has been weaponized against me and defining it for myself. If you want a monster, I'll show you one.
We already talked about how cannibals or hungry women in general in the media fit a very narrow set of appearance-wise standards. If you had the ability to make a piece of media with a hungry woman in it, a vampire, a zombie, a cannibal, what are some things that you would add to the trope to make her truly out of control or deviant the way that I kind of expect the trope to be?
That's such a loaded question because there's there's so many choices. I mean, I'm always thinking about post-colonialism and slavery, but I'm always thinking about the fact that using the monstrous to switch the power structure. I think I would really love to see vampires and cannibalism and even the zombie being used as a way to fight more colonial powers. I think that we have so demonized any of the West African spiritual practices that are now in the diaspora, like whether it be Santeria, hoodoo, voodoo, etc., that we are taught to kind of shun away from those practices as a way of like, they'll make us worse, they'll make us primitive. And I think it's just really important to not allow these colonial mindsets about our religion and our faith and like the things that we brought with us and honed into different tools to be erased. Like, if they're going to call us monsters, let's be monsters for ourselves. That's always been kind of my whole thing with anything from like witches to vampires, is like, let's embrace the monster because what they're doing is truly monstrous. You know, like why should we be ashamed when they're selling people? Like, why are they allowed to say that they're civilized when they believe that they have the right to own us? So let's eat them.
I think refreshing to see the monstrous woman as a part of a community as well. Like, say in Yellow Jackets, it's not like any one teen girl is a cannibal. You know, they become a group of teen cannibals, and I think it's refreshing to see narratives where the cannibal woman isn't forced to re-repress her desires in order to fit back into society. It'd be interesting to see stories of like Black or Indigenous characters subverting or appropriating the cannibal stereotype or like the female cannibal stereotype, and like turning that weaponization on its head. I think it'd be very difficult to do, which is probably why I haven't really seen it done, because I think it would be a very tricky line of like playing into stereotypes. The more representations we get, the more diversity and the more interesting the stories will be, because I feel like conservatives are always like, oh, like they're pushing diversity on us, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, even besides the diversity thing, are you not getting bored? Like, are you not actually just genuinely getting bored of seeing the same story over and over?
The hungry woman has to live on. Her potential is too great. But we can't ignore the way social hierarchies influence her depiction. Will Hollywood and the publishing industry bite the bullet and ramp up their production of radically ungovernable women? Will we see more Black femmes embracing the monstrous and bloody? Will we see fat women unapologetically indulging, not just as a punchline, but a reclamation of power? Or will we allow the systems we claim to challenge reign supreme after all? I personally would love to see more diversity in the book and film industry, more Black women, especially. There can never be too many Black women. And I would also like to see both industries kill their safety switch. Take risks, do something new. Wouldn't thou like to live deliciously? Anyways, I have to go crack open a boy with the cold ones. Don't wait up.